We're joined in studio by MK Party spokesperson, Mr. Ndlela, the economic freedom fighter, senior researcher, Dr. Gumani. We also are joined by the SACP's first Deputy General Secretary, Ndlela who joins us via video link. Of course, we have reached out to the ANC and the Democratic Alliance to join this discussion. Unfortunately, both parties were unavailable. And no surprises, of course, that both parties would be unavailable, because at this point we wait to see what comes out of this NWC meeting. But I'm keen to hear from you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Chimurura, I think I want to start with you. Here we are, the Deputy President of the African National Congress saying, we're mulling over the future of this government of national unity with the Democratic Alliance as part of it. Did you see this coming, and certainly this soon?
Well, look, thank you, Naledi, for having us, and good evening to the viewers of Newzroom. Let's not be too simplistic about it. What the Deputy President is saying, without saying it, is that currently those parties who are in coalition government don't have a program, both economic program, government program at all levels. In other words, this is the first budget. Remember, we had the medium-term budget policy, which is a precursor to what we're waiting for now. So what was tabled by the Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwa, is an ANC via the Treasury, what you can call economic policy statement. The DA has rejected that, meaning that the DA is saying, in admission, there is no agreement in a way forward. And that finds itself and it manifests in an economic policy. If you can't agree on an economic policy, you can't agree on anything else, because everything else that you are going to do as government trickles down from an economic policy, which is fundamentally dependent on the kind of budget that you have. So the Deputy President today, what he has done is giving us an indication that in his view, there is no government of national unity. And we need to listen to that point. We don't need to go and misrepresent his views. We can, of course, explain other things, but let's first appreciate the significance of what he said. There is no agreement. There's no agreement on the economic policy, and therefore, he doesn't see how they're going to move forward together. And the EFF has been correct from the beginning in characterizing this arrangement of the DA and the ANC, that they will not be able to develop a coordinated and coherent economic program, because they may agree on some neoliberal tenets of how they want the economy to look, meaning the involvement of the private sector, as the SACP has indicated in the past. But the bottom line is that they don't see the kind of constituency that they need to service in the same way. The DA is not looking at black people as participating mainly in the economy, but the ANC is trying to bring in black people to participate in the economy. But they are not willing to change the structure of the economy itself, which is impossible, meaning that you can then not have a coordinated and coherent program. And the current breakdown that we're seeing now, it's simply because there is no coherent economic program between the two. I mean, the other parties, you can talk about Action SA, IFP, and I mean, they don't even have a stake in this conversation within Cabinet and the GNU. They're just following through with their small numbers to support seemingly this marriage. But the bottom line is that if you can't have an economic program between the ANC and the DA, you don't have government.
So, Dr. Chimurura, the opportunity now of the EFF, were the opportunity there for the EFF to be a part of this government of national unity? Would you take it? I mean, in December, we did see quotes from the EFF saying we'd be happy to join the government of national unity with some conditions.
No, now let me remind you, South Africans, I think they must not forget this easily. After the elections in 2024, the EFF was correct in characterizing the DA and the ANC coalition. We even warned the ANC to say, you don't have to form a majority government through coalition with the DA. You can form a minority government if you don't want to form a coalition with progressive political parties in parliament. And when it comes to issues of budget, like in this instance, we'll then negotiate case by case. We'll put forward a program of service delivery and say, we want 1, 2, 3, and 4. But with that condition, it meant that the ANC was going to run the government with a minority government, which will require a more genuine consultation. That's the first thing. The second thing, as recent as this weekend, the president, the commander-in-chief of the EFF, Julius Malema, said that we are ready to be part of a government of national unity. We are ready to go into coalition with the ANC and all progressive political parties, based on a clear program of service delivery. But on a condition that you don't have the DA and the FF Plus in that coalition. And this is for simple reason. and why the ANC now is currently having serious challenges. The DA will not agree with you on simple basics of how to constitute the state in terms of building its capacity. The DA will not agree with insourcing in terms of building state capacity, number one. The DA will not agree with the state playing an active role in reindustrialization of industries in Ekurhuleni, in all former black townships where we had factories in Shandima, in Mdantsane, in Putatichava. They will not agree to that. The DA will not agree with a situation where the state lead economic development, whereas you can give a clear mandate to the private sector to say, your role starts here and end here, so that we're able to grow the economy, we're able to create jobs, and. The DA will not agree with that. So when you go into a coalition with such an arrangement, where they are very clear and transparent about their policies, you can't expect to have a different outcome later on.
But I want to know the EFF's position, because now we're talking about the DA, which is quite an opposition thing to do. The criticism of the DA for many years has been they talk about who's in government, they talk about others, not themselves. What is the position of the EFF at this point? And let me tell you why I'm challenging you. You've got, for instance, the EFF that has been coming out of this fiscal framework sitting with that portfolio committee saying that they're going to head to court and challenge the process. So, were the EFF to be in the government of national unity, would you have done the same? Would you have challenged the VAT hike? What would you have done?
I mean, like I said earlier, we are willing to go into government of national unity with the ANC. We're clear about that. If you go to the statements as early as last year, we have never minced our words about it. We are also clear about our relationship with the DA and FF+. We are not willing to go into that coalition, at least at a national level, where we have to frame policy and structure the state in terms of how it responds to everything else that we do, unlike in local government. There's no question about that, right? We're clear on that. But if you look at this budget, for example, because fundamentally they don't agree on how to reorganize the economy, they will not agree on a budget. A budget is an instrument of the economy through the state. So when the economy plays itself out and the state has to play a role, the only way the state plays a role is through its fiscal and monetary policy. Had the EFF been in government with the ANC, first of all, the engagements from the beginning were going to be far much more genuine. So if you look at the EFF proposal that we've made in the Standing Committee on Finance, but also we've published a document today, which says that when we went to a meeting, these were our proposals and were not captured correctly. You would have seen that there was not going to be a question of revenue shortfall in the first place, because our economic framework is far much broader. We talk about the PIC, we talk about surpluses that are at the compensation fund in the UIF, we talk about a macroeconomic policy that is not limited to the need to want to push the budget into what we call a fiscal surplus, right? Because we are saying once you push budget that direction, and you're still working within the growth framework of 1.8%, in the next 3 years, you are definitely going to have higher unemployment. There's no doubt about it. So it means the conversation would have been far much more progressive. We would have found consensus with the SACP, obviously on reindustrialization, without even a discussion. It means that we're going to expand the entire fiscal framework, possibly even double it more than what MKP is saying, because there's an obvious need to expand the state. So there was never going to be an issue of VAT 14%, 0.5%, 15%, 16% in 2 years. No. There was never going to be such a conversation because the overall framework, we're going to be in agreement with it.
I think the same question for the EFF, concerns around possible sanctions against members and leaders of the EFF. I mean, this is, your very own leader has been, you know, his name touted so publicly by Elon Musk, for instance, all over X, and then there's the killing of Kill the Boer. Is it an issue for you? How the EFF's impact on our foreign policy at the moment?
So there are two things, right? Firstly, the characterization of the president, the commander-in-chief of the EFF, as a terrorist. That does not stem from allegation of corruption while he was in the ANC or any of that thing. It's precisely based on his policy position. And he said he welcomed it. He's not going to change his position on land expropriation of that compensation. He's not going to change his position on all other cardinal pillars, nationalization of strategic sectors of the economy. He's happy with that. If those in the US want to characterize him as a terrorist precisely for positions on the policy, then that's fine.